Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you. So I was just talking to my mom a couple of nights ago about the fact that I was getting a bit worried about running out of material for ghost tour guide stories because while yeah, weird things happen, they don't happen at a rate of like once a week. So I was a bit concerned that I was going to run out of material. And tonight, the universe provided. So the tour tonight was very crowded. We had three different groups dividing, and I had to take 27 or 28 to make it valid numbers for everybody else. So I count out my 27. I think I should count 28. And I went over to go start the tour and I look over and I'm like, this is not 28 people. And I count and sure enough, I'm missing folks. So I go back to pick them up and the group that I was supposed to be taking were suddenly like, oh no, we want to go with the other tour guide because we think he's going to be louder. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. Like objectively, all I care about is that you didn't tell me before we started dividing people. But I was like, okay, so I just need another pair. And my co-tour guide, Christian, was like, they're a pair. And I'm like, okay, I'll take them. And I'm like, okay, guys, y'all come with me. And they seem fine. They seem high as a kite, but they seem fine. And they're making out a bit heavily during the rules, but these things have happened before. It's not the end of the world until I get near the end of the rules. And I'm not quite done yet, but the guy interrupts and asks me, how many cemeteries are there? And I'm like, in New Orleans? Quite a few. If you're talking about on the tour, none. There are no cemeteries in the French Quarter, so we are not going to be visiting any cemeteries. And he's like, oh no, but we need to go by a cemetery. I'm like, we can't. They're not down here. And he's like, no, you see, me and my girlfriend, we gotta fuck in a cemetery. To which my response is, that's illegal. And he's like, I know, I don't care, fuck the law. And I'm like, okay, it's also super disrespectful because all the cemeteries in New Orleans are living cemeteries. There are real people buried there who have living family and living relations. And it's really disrespectful to them to have sex on top of their graves. And he's like, oh yeah, we're on the same wavelength. That's it. I want to do this. Let's do this. And I'm like, dude, no. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And eventually I'm just like ignoring him and continuing the tour, just being like, you know what? I can't help you. So instead, I just tell the story. And during the first stop, him and his girlfriend are making out a pretty good amount. And like she keeps sort of like half pushing him away and stepping away and making clear signals of, no, this is inappropriate. And he just keeps pursuing until finally she shoves him away and he goes and sits on one of the benches with one of the homeless people and keeps glaring back at me. And sure enough, when I get to the second stop, he's not there, and neither is his girlfriend. And objectively, I'm super glad about that because some of the other guests on the tour were significantly more offended than I was. But the cherry on the top of the cake was when I get home, I have a message from my fellow tour guide apologizing for being like, I'm so sorry you had to take that guy. He came over to me after you left and asked if he could come on my group instead because, quote unquote, that other girl's a bitch. And I'm like, cool. Considering this is the bad bitches tour, I guess I succeeded in my job. Thank you, random gentlemen, for at least giving me a good story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to share your own experiences in the comments below.